So there were two anime from my childhood that really made an impact on me. The first I already talked about, which was Battle of the Planets, also known as Gatchaman. The other one was Star Blazers, and Star Blazers came out about the same time and was based on an anime called Space Battleship Yamato. And so this is Big Bad Toy Store's various Space Battleship Yamato items for sale, and you can see that they are a whole bunch of model kits. Um, I think they're all model kits. Let's see. Model. I don't know, some of these are not listed, but you can see they're pretty cheap. 119. I mean, 120 bucks is not super cheap, but so this is mine. This is not a model. This is how it came. I did not put this together. Unfortunately, it's quite dusty. I've had it for a few years, and even though I have it behind glass, it's gotten very dusty. But this is the Yamato. Now, in Star Blazers, when it came to the United States, they renamed it because the Yamato was a ship from World War II, a Japanese battleship, and so I assume they kind of wanted to get away from the idea that it was a Japanese battleship. So this came out about, I don't know, 1974, 77, something like that. So it really wasn't that removed from World War II. And so the ship was named the Argo in the United States in Star Blazers. And one of the differences between Gatchaman and Star Blazers is that there was a lot less cutting of the series in Star Blazers. So they didn't have to really add much because it stayed pretty close to the original story. There were some things changed, but not a lot. So like the name of the ship was changed. So this is part of Bandai's Soul of Chogokin line. Every once in a while they do vehicles rather than figures. And so this is the GX-86, the Star Blazer Space Battleship Yamato 2202. And so that's based on this series here, 2202. Okay, and so it's a two-part, two box set of the series. They also had 2199, which is the GX-64, based on this series, which is 2199. Now, I couldn't detect any difference in the Battleship from 2099 to 2202. What they did was they added all sorts of like gimmicks on it, so it can like play the music, and I barely touched any of this stuff. It can turn the turrets and there's light up features and all sorts of things like that. And I never really played with any of that stuff. I just like to have it on the shelf. I've never broken anything on it, but it feels so delicate. It feels like if this thing toppled over, all the damage that could be done. So I try very hard. It was almost a little bit nerve-wracking for me even to carry it down here to film it. The braces on it, they don't grip in the front, but they grip in the back, and I'm always worried that this is really heavy. This is so heavy. This thing, I think it's 16 inches long, this ship, but it grips in the back, and I'm always worried that it's going to scrape the paint, but it never has. There's a lot of metal in this, a lot of die cast, and plastic, so it's a mixture of plastic and die cast, but it is quite heavy, not like a model. Models are much cheaper. So if you go out onto Amazon, and there it is for $566. I did not pay that for it, but it was not cheap. I remember specifically when I first got this. I think the wave motion gun actually lights up. You could see how big it is. It's big. Big and unfortunately dusty. Beautiful, beautiful. I didn't pay for but when I first got it, it was the most expensive item toy figure, whatever you want to call it, that I had ever bought. And so I was like, wow, this is pretty. Now since then, I've paid more for different items, particularly my Voltron. But this really is. This is a gorgeous, and the detailing. There's actually one thing I noticed, that there's more detailing on this than actually in the anime. So the one thing about that I would say about Space Battleship Yamato over Gatchaman is its longevity. So these series that have come out, and there's a third one that hasn't been released in the West yet, and these are not just like grabbing the license and throwing out some anime. These are really good, high quality. The animation is great on it. This is good stuff. And there was this one, and I don't know if this was ever released in the West, so I have it. But this is DVD, and it is actually the Japanese, or I think it's the Malay version. I want to say that price up there is in ringgit. So I'm actually going to be going to Malaysia in July. But I ended up buying this. This is subtitled, and it's kind of an add-on to the 21.99 series. It's kind of a standalone movie. Then we have, I don't have all the movies. Some of them I couldn't get. Space Battleship Yamato: The New Voyage. So this probably came out in the 80s, I would say. We have Be Forever Yamato. And then Final Yamato, the end of the Yamato. Now, when I first saw this, it said on there that it was the longest animated film in history. And I was like, no, it can't be. But apparently this is. It is the longest animated movie. I'm not sure if it's still true, but probably 163 minutes. And this is a really weird one, because apparently there's various versions of different lengths, and some have some things cut out, and others have other things cut out, and I don't know. I love this movie. I think it's a fantastic. What I don't own is the original series, which I used to watch when I was a kid. And yet another difference between Gatchaman, Battle of the Planets, and Star Blazers was that Star Blazers didn't go through that same legal hell in the West. And so that one continued broadcasting, unlike Battle of the Planets. That one continued, and there's always talk of doing something new, a new movie, a new animation of Gatchaman, and it just does not seem to be able to happen. But it sure as heck is happening with Space Battleship Yamato. So there is, let's see, we have Yamato 2205, which came out in 2021, and it's a remake of Space Battleship New Voyage, which is this one here. And so I don't believe that one's been released in the West. And then it looks like they're going to be making another one, which is Be Forever Yamato, which is this one right here, Be Forever Yamato, Rebel 3199. Staff is currently unannounced, so it sounds like they haven't even started really doing development on that one yet. But this is definitely one of the highlights of my collection in my shelf. And if you want to get it today, it's quite expensive. But I managed to grab it. I want to say I paid like $300 for it, something along those lines. Let me see. Actually, I can figure out what I paid for it. 1 second here, because I have the top review. So it is. This is okay. So it's actually 17.7 inches, and I paid. I got it from an auction. I bought it from eBay for $300. So it's at least being sold for $566. So who knows if people are actually paying that price for it? Maybe. So anyway, this is kind of an introduction to Space Battleship Yamato and Star Blazers, and I do have one other figure that I will show later. So that is Yamato 2202.